Well, I am not quite 60 years old, not for another 50 years, but we are on episode 60 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. Woo! Yay, confetti, whatever. I'm Stephen Rothberg. I'm one of your co-hosts. I am the founder of College Recruiter Job Search Site, where we believe that every student and recent grad deserves a great career and that it should be easy and inexpensive for employers to hire them. I am joined here by my much more significant co-host, not Wonder Woman, but Jeanette.
And hi everyone, Jeanette Leeds. I'm with AMS, Managing Director, Executive Vice President, focusing on our hourly and high volume solutions. And we are here today for episode 60.
Long enough to know better.
What's that?
Long enough to know better.
Long enough to know better, with like a really cool topic to talk about, right? It's layoffs, AI, DEIB, remote regulate, it's all of this. So we have Andrew here from Mitratech. I got it pronounced it right. We were talking about beforehand in the green room, who is going to talk to us all about this as it relates to high volume. So Andrew, why don't we kick this off with just, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about Mitratech, and then we'll get into, all these hot topics.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for having me. My name's Andrew. As it says there, Enterprise Account Executive here at Mitratech, hailing from Colorado. It's sunny now. We'll see if it changes here in 20 minutes. Yeah. Live here on my little farm with my goats, my son, my chickens, my horses. Been with Mitratech for a while. I think it's almost on 4 years now. Mitratech is that, company getting the best in brands and a suite of solutions that can really empower, elevate, and, work on AI and automating the HR team.
Awesome. Well, I noticed that you put the goats ahead of your son. So I guess question number one is, what did your son do so badly? I'm just kidding. So
yeah.
We're pivoting today.
Yeah. No, I'll be
Everybody
serious.
has a son, not everyone has some goats. You got to lead with, you got to separate yourself somehow,
So yeah, I have two sons and I can say I love them dearly, but there were times where I would rather have had goats. I think one of the times that I saw a lot about Mitratech was about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago at this time. Mitratech acquired Circa, which was pretty well known in the DEIB, the diversity, equity, inclusion, and branding. We should put another letter there, and that would take the whole podcast space. Tell me a little bit, if you could, about what the strategy was, because Mitratech does a lot of stuff. And did it just sort of feel like DEIB was a hole and it plugged it? Was there something specific about Circa? What did that do for the company as a whole?
Yeah, no, I think that's an awesome question. Mitratech stems from a legal and compliance software. That's where they made their bread and butter. And branching off with that, they started their HRC, or, the human resources division, investing in companies like Assure Hire for background checks, Talent Reef for talent management, I-9 Tracker for your I-9s. So there's a whole, there's a wide scope, like you said, of things that Mitratech can do. And specific with the HRC, I think that as we've seen diversity and inclusion become more a part of our everyday lives, it only made sense that, if you're trying to get a whole human resource division under one umbrella, that you have to include something like diversity and inclusion. And like you said, I think that another piece of that is not just acquiring or investing in brands, but investing in best-in-class brands. And so, as you mentioned before, I think Circa checked that box as well. It's just a well-known, well-trusted brand to invest in.
Cool.
That's awesome. That makes sense. So let's dive a little bit more into the DEIB. Okay, I hit all the letters. Talk to us a little bit, any interesting innovations that you're seeing with, current clients or just in the marketplace in that area.
Yeah, like I said, I think that if you look back years ago, diversity and inclusion had their own little segment. It was like the company
Yeah.
barbecue, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of away from all the other human resource folks and away from all their processes. But with having the process of getting a quality applicant, because in my mind, that's what we're all looking for, is we're all looking for a quality applicant that can really see the potential in partnering with our company. And I think that diversity and inclusion needs to be at the very forefront of that. Like it needs to be the beginning question. It needs to be when we're looking for talent, that it needs to be part of those processes. So being able to, integrate and work with an ATS like Talent Reef, where they're going through the process, but through that whole process, diversity and inclusion is always at the forefront.
So put your advisory hat on for a moment. You coworkers sitting in a meeting with one of your bigger clients. They do a lot of hiring, high volume, hiring a scale, call it what you may. And they say to you, our CEO is telling us that we need to use AI to, transform, solve all of our problems. It's the, 180th silver bullet that he's talked about in the last 2 years. Give me as the client a few pros for adding AI into the hiring process, and then also some things that we should be watching out for, specifically high volume side.
Yeah, I think that when you look at high volume hiring, what we've made, and I've seen with a number of clients, what they're making a move to is data and analytics. I think that before that, people were going a lot on feel, or they were going on legacy systems. This is what we've always done. It's what's worked for us. And so we'll continue to do it. One of the things I think about is like that 4-step process that Google has come up with, that before they take action, they have their data and analytics, they take a moment to provide insights, they make a plan, and then they take action. And I think that that goes for everything. And I think human resources, after a long time, is finally starting to adopt that mindset of how can we use data and analytics to work for us, right? Where are my applicants coming from? If I want to go into a diversity and you want to break it out by like race or gender or where they came from and things like that, that it's a lot easier to pull those data and analytics so you then can take action. And in my mind, that's kind of, if someone was looking to why AI, that would be the pro, is like you're never going to get a more robust data and analytics system if people are having to go through a manual process. The more that we can automate and the more that we can make technology work for us, I think that that's a plus. When I think about the cons, you always think about, I think it's trust. That anytime anyone mentions AI, that's always the big topic that comes up in my mind or with clients is, oh, I don't know, we're really into compliancy, or cybersecurity is really big here. How am I supposed to know? And I think that, that can that can make it where people are reluctant. And so I think that just as more as it becomes a part of our day-to-day life, and even as it is right now, people are using AI without knowing that they're using AI. And so the more it becomes part of our life, I think the more people will be more open to the benefits and what it can provide their companies.
Yeah, for sure. It's like less scary, right? It's like, hey, test it out, pilot it here and there. Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot of that. Are you seeing any like specific, or maybe you give like some use case examples where you're starting to see this? And again, I feel like we're very much at the beginning. This is the beginning, and it's been a slow build over the past couple of years, and certainly this year has been more of an explosion, but still very early stages.
Yeah, I think that if you talk to any software company, whether it's an HR or somewhere else, they've hired someone that's part of AI. They're adding AI to their processes. And so like Mitratech is no different, that we have a lot of awesome innovations coming with AI. And I think that that's where you can just look, is that as clients start to say like, hey, we're using this way of gathering data with our own business, that it's easy to align with somebody like a Mitratech or, anybody else in that space that's providing that type of service. And in terms of use case, I think it goes like I said, back to the data and analytics, just in my daily conversations of like working with the HR professionals or your TA people, and they're like, what a breath of fresh air. All I have to do is download my chart and show it to my board instead of putting all this together. Like, it's already ready for you. And like I said, it's real time. I think that as quickly as everything moves nowadays, especially with high volume hiring, right? How quickly we need to get people through processes, how quickly we need to get them on the floor, that we need real-time access to data and real-time access to things. And I think AI really opens those doors.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. It's 2024, and there's a lot of organizations that do not have data like at their fingertips, in particular for high volume, like, which is because it moves by the minute, not days, not weeks, but it's super, super quick. So I'm still floored constantly where I'm like, what do you mean you don't have the data? But it's a thing in 2024.
Oh,
So I get to that next level without that data.
Oh, I'm telling you, Jeanette, I'm telling you. And I think it even goes a little bit beyond that, that I'm still shocked that I call people and they're having people manually fill out I-9s. Companies that maybe you just saw a commercial for, they're as big as that, right? They just had a Super Bowl ad and every one of their employees is manually filling out an I-9. And so I think that, with that, like I said, trying to introduce the concept of AI to someone that's using manual forms, it seems like a huge jump, like a light year type of jump, right? But in actuality, I think that, like you said, it's a lot less scary than people make it out to be.
And if the viewer is one of those companies, first of all, like, don't be ashamed. You're in good company. There are lots of others. You're not in this alone. It kind of reminds me of, like, in a lot of the developing world where they didn't have landlines, they went from no phones straight to cell phones, and they skipped over.
Wow,
and in some ways that helped them. Like, South Korea's cell phone network is way better than the US because they just didn't invest in all that copper wire. So in some ways, those companies might be better off. They're not gonna have all those legacy systems to get rid of.
Yeah, that's a great point, Stephen. That's actually really, really great point.
I think we have time for one more quick question. So quick question, Andrew, is now get your crystal ball. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what do you think is going to be really different about HR than it is now?
In my mind, I think that as I'm quickly thinking about something, and I can't tell you what I'm going to do for dinner tomorrow. So asking me to forecast 5 to 10 years from now,
goat meat is surprisingly delicious.
Yeah, hopefully people want mutton. In my mind, what I think that it is that your HR professional is going to be even more part of the daily functions of a business. That I think that as you look at it, that the human part of everything, as we go more remote, as we start becoming more international and companies are having people connect from everywhere, the ability to have your company still look at us as humans and make sure that the human side of thing is taken care of, I think is going to present a bunch of challenges because, like I said, things are going to become even more spread apart and people are going to expect things much faster. So I think that it's an exciting time to be in HR because I think more is going to change over the next 5 years than probably had changed in the previous 20.
I agree.
Now, any suggestions for dinner tomorrow, now that we have that figured out?
Well, not goat meat, because you can't eat your pet.
There we go.
You can, but
you can. It would be socially unacceptable.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I was just in Italy for a week and got back of eating a lot of pizza and pasta. So that's my suggestion for you.
There you go.
Pizza or pasta.
That sounds great.
So super healthy.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. And sort of people who want to reach you, LinkedIn, good place?
Of course, LinkedIn's the best place. Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Jeanette, another fun episode.
Another fun episode. Episode 60 done and dusted. Have a great week. We'll see you guys back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
You got it.
Cheers.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.